going to demonstrate how you can make and print a stamp with styrofoam and washable markers effectively. I'm using a store-bought block of styrofoam, but you could just as easily make your own stamp using the top of a styrofoam takeout container, just cut into a square or rectangle. I'm going to start off by sketching my design using a washable marker. I use a washable marker to sketch it so that if I make a mistake, I can just wipe it off with a wet paper towel. And then after I'm happy with the design that I've created, I'm going to use a pencil or a pen to etch or scratch the design into the styrofoam and make it permanent. This is kind of the opposite of what we do on paper. On paper, you start off with a pencil to sketch, and then the marker is permanent. But on the styrofoam, we can wipe off the ink from the marker because it just sits right on top of the styrofoam. But when I go over it with a pencil, or in this case a pen, it is etching the design. It is scratching the design into the surface of the styrofoam, and that is permanent. That cannot be undone. If you make a mistake in that step, you can always flip your stamp over, use the other side of it. But you want to be careful when you're going through that process, etching the design into the styrofoam, because that is going to be permanent. That is what stays on the styrofoam and cannot be undone. Now, after I've designed it and etched my stamp with a pen or a pencil, I am going to use just washable markers to color my design. And you can get creative with it lots of different ways. One of the things I like about the styrofoam is, since it does not absorb the ink from the marker, I can actually blend colors, layering them, and mix the colors of ink the way I might with paint or something like that. So I am putting down sort of a base coat of my standard colors, like I've got blue for the water and everything like that, but then I can mix in and layer in some other colors like green and streaks of other things like that into the water. So I'm putting different shades of blues and purples and greens in my water to make it just a little bit more visually interesting, so it's not just like one flat color. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is get my paper wet. I want my paper wet, but not dripping. I don't want to have any pools or puddles of water on there. So I'm wiping it with a paper towel, and then I press my stamp into that wet paper. I like to flip it over and rub on the back of the paper to make sure it's all pressed down evenly. And when I peel it off, the ink has transferred from the styrofoam stamp onto the paper. The water helps facilitate that transfer and draws the ink off the stamp into the fibers of the paper because it is a water-soluble ink.